I am Mizokami, and can you see? It's so dark. And, well, from the back, I really couldn't appreciate Professor Mazur's face, and I thought that this room is kind of not so convenient when it gets dark, but please try to look at my face, I hope. And so I did not only use peer instruction in our class, but with the communication with Dr. Mazur, I decided to introduce peer instruction in a psychology class, and so I only have 25 minutes, so I like to kind of speak in a rush. And for peer instruction, I had high interest as one of the active learning methods, and so I also, after I introduce the peer instruction experience at our university, I would like to give some discussion from the perspective of active learning. And I've added some photos from your handout. Well, in the big classroom setting, I have tried to introduce the peer instruction. I always had an interest as to what extent peer instruction can be introduced in such a large classroom setting. And so you can see that the black letters are the conventional method. So if each class, the class design is I would receive question from the previous class for the first 10 minutes, and for the next 50 to 60 minutes I will give lecture, and every week I have the students write the mini essay. And so these kind of class will be conducted for 12 to 13 times in a course. And the objective of the mini essay is that I will be providing information about the contents, and I want the students to write down in their own words what they understood. And also for each theme, I want to know what how the students felt or what the students recognized. So in about 20 to 30 minutes, I have the students write down a mini essay every week. So this is the standard design of my class. And 2 out of the 15 class will discuss about the some papers or have some time for discussion among the members. But it's a big class, so that's the standard way of conducting the class. So on the left bottom, you see how the discussion takes place. This is about 4 years ago. And the class had about 120 students. And so we grouped the students in three students a group, and we've had that long discussion. In the red letter, this is what we introduced anew for peer instruction. And so the 10 minutes question time based on a mini essay, and the final mini essay writing 20-30 minutes is the same as before. But we have this big class, we need some warm-up, and so we need some time for the warm-up. And so this is kind of like a breakdown of the class. So Dr. Mazur gave us a very nice explanation about the peer instruction, so I don't need to really go into the detail. But this is the clicker that you see on the right top, and below that you see how the students are voting using the clicker. So Dr. Mazur showed a video clip how the students were using the clickers, and I wanted the graduate student to take the picture, and we were taking photo, but the students don't do this. They click at the back of their hands. They don't seem like they're voting. They don't hold out the clicker up front. But of course the signal can be sent. So even if I send the clicker in the back of myself, the signal can be sent. So the students don't send it use the clicker like this. This is what Dr. Mazur has on the website. So I told my students to intentionally hold up the clicker, so or else they just hold the clicker down below in their back. But anyway, so this is the distribution of the voting, and this is the feedback. I don't think this needs explanation. And the peer discussion part. So when there's a different opinion, we have a couple of students discuss amongst each other the same setting as the standard peer instruction, and we just would have the people talk to their neighbors. And so sometimes they would be speaking to good friends, and depending on where they sit, would have discussion with the new members. And so there was some feedback saying that the students enjoyed talking to new people, and some students like to just talk with their friends. And so these are the clicker questions. So this is the PowerPoint that I used. This is the kind of question I asked for clickers, and have the students select 1, 2, or 3, and tell them to select or vote within about 20 seconds. And when there's difference in the opinion, then it says it's a peer discussion on the bottom. So the students will talk in a group of like 3 students. And so in the beginning of the class, we would always group the students. So in about a minute now, we can group the students in a very short time. The first 1 or 2 classes, it really takes a lot of time because there are about 200 students in a class just to group them. But the students now are accustomed to being grouped. And so for the grouping, up to the grouping level, we can do without delay. And today, I don't have much time to explain in detail, but so I cannot explain the questions that I use. But, well, I try to use the warm-up questions to warm the students up. And also, we have reading texts to have them use as pre-assignment. In the active learning setting, I just tend to run out of time. So I try to prepare a text. So every week, I will tell the students which chapter they should prepare for. So usually, sometimes it happens that I ran out of time and I have to continue the next week on the same chapter. But I try to be clear-cut on finishing each chapter, each class, so that sometimes the students would do a pre-reading text all at once, or sometimes they would read for every week, bit by bit, and it's up to the student. So there are some questions to confirm how well they're prepared. And so the precondition is that they have to do the pre-assignment before attending class. And so we do a check to see their preparation status, and also do a review of what they learn. And or also we would give them questions to check how well they understood the previous class. And so these are the types of questions I would ask the students. And now, after trying this peer instruction, I have many learning views. So clicker. So it was the first experience using clicker in class with large number of students. And also we had long discussion, but every week I didn't have the students to have a discussion among their neighbors every week. So it was really it was only 2 classes out of 15 in a course, but I tried to, I emphasize to the student, okay, next week we're going to have the discussions. I had to prepare themselves beforehand to create an atmosphere. And every 10 or 15 minutes, they're asked to vote using the clickers, and it's kind of busy. And so it was quite challenging to control the atmosphere of the class. That's the biggest impression I had. And the good point was that the students had a strong commitment and motivation, or their involvement was very much enhanced. And so they had a high willingness to be engaged. And that was well represented in the data. And so what I found out the most was, what I recognized the most was that this is the course on the psychology of identity formation. And I'm specialized in psychology, so there are a lot of logics involved in the self-formation or identity formation. And the students are really interested in the logic portion. So they're really interested in the cases, specific cases, but sometimes they would lose interest. They would be demotivated in the theory portion. So that's what I had experienced so far. So I try to be very specific in giving specific cases. So in the pre-assignment, I would try to have them read the logic or the theory portion beforehand, and so that they can get a hands-on in the class. We have the students do clay modeling to kind of express their self-formation. So the shape could be anything about the clay. And so the students, after modeling the clay, they would discuss amongst the peers. And so in any ways, I want the students to feel what self-formation is, and so there are many faculty from the Kyoto University, so I think you will appreciate that for the Kyoto University students. And this is the course for all majors to take. And so to have them buy clay and do a clay modeling for 1 hour, it's such a hard work to have Kyoto University students do this. It's quite challenging. We have to really force them or they wouldn't be willing to do that. And last year, so what I do is, so some students say, oh, I forgot to bring my clay. So well, we have too many students to care for them. So if they forget the clay, I tell them you can't attend class if you forget to bring your clay. And also you don't have to come if you're hesitant. So I tell them that you can skip about 3 classes and you will still pass the course. So if you're not willing to or motivated to do the clay modeling, then you can skip. So where I allow the students that they can be absent from the class for 3 times and they will still pass. It's better than them attending without motivation. So in 2011, if you see the photograph on the right top, you will see that there were, for the clay modeling class, there were this less patients, but for where it says 2012, we have more patients. And so with the introduction of the peer instruction, the students, I felt the students were more motivated and willing to participate.
Many points of the improvement. For one is that many of the students, if that well, cognitively that we have to deal with such kind of the development. Well, even though that we handle the difficult issues, that the good answers is correct. But if all the students answer correctly, I'm disappointed because that I thought that it was not too challenging overall. And so that's something of the obsession that I have. And if I manipulate the massage that the problems and then the students suddenly that collapse. And so that this is something that I have to confirm that beforehand, so that we really have to, well, enjoy that the many students provide the correct answers. This is a very primary point, but it was a sticking point at first. And listening to Dr. Mazul, and there are the many issues that he had to tide over, and the clickers. And if that the 15 to 10 or 15 minutes of that the intervals of the discussions does not interrupt that concentration of the student, that was what I have learned. But when I practiced the explanation of the case studies and, well, that 1 unit or that takes 20 or 30 minutes, including the theory explanation and also the link with the case study to the conceptualization. And I try to reduce the time, but it was very difficult. Sometimes that I have to explain 30 minutes and then suddenly produce a clicker. Clicker is fine, that I just suppress it, but to chase away the sleepiness and wake them up, and the answer, okay. After 30 minutes, if the students get into the passive mode, it's very difficult to graduate them from the passive mode to the active mode. Well, some students continue to be active, some are not. And toward the end, I just ignore this very inactive students, and they are out of the control. But up until the 30, from the time 0 to 30 minutes, that it is okay, they can come back. But if I get into the lectures, 30 minutes, and the peer discussion after 30 minutes, it's really difficult to keep up the concentration of the students. So this is something that we have to consider the content. And also the environment of the classes. There is no one size fit for all for the answers. And plus that the preparation for the class. What shall I say? That toward the very end of the 60 or 70 minutes of the class, even though that we did the peer discussions and some of the students are very reluctant to come into the discussions, and in order to motivate them, evaluation is a key. Well, some of the for example, the preparation, well, we assume that the students do the preparation and the reading assignment. But if I look at the result of the questionnaires, just half of the students do not read that reading assignment. They try to comprehend everything during the class. I don't follow this because that the evaluation is the opening point or the lecture in Kyoto University. But the other lectures are not that strict. So if I really follow that evaluation, this much of the works and the weekly report and homework and preparation, and each single students have to be evaluated on how many clickers, and then the students will forget about it. The professor is too strict. I did this, not the clickers. I did the interim evaluation. Many of that yardsticks I applied, and out of the 30 students, at the next week that it was reduced to 50 students. It's my trauma that if I give too frequent, too strict the evaluation, students just stop coming. So this is the result of the questionnaire. And so that I have to confess to you that even the Kyoto University, prestigious university, is not that advanced. But anyway, that as a professor, the pre-post evaluation I tried as a Professor Mazur, and some of the results are not as organized, so that this is the summary that I could bring to show you. This is a post data only. And this is a co-study with Miss Chow of our graduate student. The 4 questions at the top were related with the peer instruction, bottom 2, and the 4, including the mini report writing weekly, and which deepened the understanding the class, yes. And so that the correlation is very high, and 50 minutes or 2 times of long discussion, yes, also very helpful for deepening the understanding, and also the peer discussion with the students, and there was a strong sense of engagement in the student. Commitment is very high, yes. This is a data-proven effect, and also that good understanding, a little less than the other answers, but still, yes. And the bottom 3, as I have mentioned, evaluation, whether the evaluation is very, very clear, or the very meticulous or not. And, some of the students says that the clicker question is very difficult, that if they have not prepared or the reading assignment. And so, some of the students engaged. However, that the engagement, they found it very difficult that if they have not done the homework or read the reading assignment. So this is something that of the result of the questionnaire. Now, the data does not reflect, but yes, indeed, that the students are very highly motivated and fired up. But reading the mini report is not up to the par that I expect in terms of the quality, because that even though that we include the peer instruction or that the composition is the same, however, that sometimes that I don't have enough time for the explanation or that enough time for thinking, and therefore that the students enjoy, however, as a lecturer, as me as a lecturer, that the overall outcome has some room for the improvement or in deepness, is my sense out of the experimental implementation. Now the conclusion is from the point of view of the active learning. Now the clicker, the gain of the clickers. Peer instruction and the peer discussion and clicker, this is a package of the procedure. As a technique, it's not very difficult to do. And as Dr. Mazu mentioned, the concept test is a term that he has given you, that the questions first is posed. How to improve the question, how to ask that the good question is something that you have to invest a lot. And in this sense, that yes, I prepare many the questions, and also that I revised in a frequent manner. And if I pose these questions, and sometimes all of them can answer correctly, or not all of them can, or 30-70% of that the correct answer ratio is very difficult to target on. That's what I feel. But this kind of the design, good design, can improve the overall peer instruction quality. Now, the clicker only, that clicker is the tool to create the active learning environment, and therefore that the paper of the clickers and books of the clickers that I would like to do the study into the future. What about the gain brought about the clickers that I read and organized, and so there are 10 points. One is to instantaneous analysis of the understanding of the students, to understand prior knowledge and naive concept students, especially the physics, and my specialty is psychology. But before that, the coming of the class, that they do have a prior knowledge, prior understanding, or the prior feeling even, and which is reflected in the concept and also academic knowledge, sometimes not, and deviant from our academic knowledge. And so sometimes this deviation can hamper the understanding, and therefore that using the clickers that we can get their previous knowledge and the academic understanding in line as close as possible, synchronize them. And for introduction of the classes for the checking of the pre-post learning and also the implementation of active learning, yes, the clicker is helpful, and the stepwise of the teaching of the complicated contents of the learning and anonymity, which is very good. And also that motivating the students for the learning and increasing of the level of their attention and improvement of the result of the learning. Result of the learning yardstick is that is how that the memory settles, or that the improving the percentage of the good answers, good grades, A, B, and also that the pre-post discrepancy is larger, that is better post-wise, in case of the physics especially. And also, we can record it in the PC by the clickers. And so, well, we assign that the number of the clickers to each student, and therefore that we have a very rich database, and so that we can use that for the final evaluation of the performance. I have not done this, but some of the instructors are willing to do so. And the questionnaire. And this is not related with the contest, however, the questionnaire for the pedagogy or the procedures of learning is sometimes that we can do with the help of the clickers. My personal impression is that, yes, I think that it is a very intriguing technology, peer instruction, yes. However, unlike clickers, not only using the clickers, that there are that social elements are included. Active learning is that we have to tide over the traditional lectures, and we have to involve or engage the students as much as possible. We have to create such kind of pedagogy or the learning system or the framework, rather than the one-sided lecture system. That's something that we have to create. We have to, graduate from the one-sided lectures, and we have to, comment sheet, report. We have to make it as interactive as possible to get the students as actively as possible. It is something that we have to create in the form of active learning. But this is the entrance, and we cannot stop there. And moreover, that we have to encourage the students to understand in depth of the concept of the academic knowledge base. So we have to develop into this direction and have to expand the scope of knowledge. And how shall we do this? That is that the others, peers, that is within our heads, that the students would like to come close as possible to the correct answer. Active in this sense is fine. However, that they have to be in line with accommodate and coordinate in their ideas or to the others in a very broad sense. So looking at this, that peer characteristic is lacking from the classroom environment. And so some of the papers discuss like this. This is a physics specialist. That the social construction is a term is used, and I think the physicists are engaged in active discussions on the social construction, according to what I have heard. And I was very, very impressed with that, how avid they are. But I use a very simple term, the social construction. Okay, and let's imagine the solving of the issues. This is usually the individual provision. That is, whether that you understand or not understand in the society. And active learning constitutes that the problem solving, which is fine, which is no problem. However, when we use clickers, that even the same problems that the students, well, you see that the community of the students or the others community, that we can understand the overall picture of the community's understanding, that we can feedback. And those correct answers may turn out to be the wrong answers. And there, that they try to coordinate opinions and the ideas, and therefore that they can create a certain kind of the conclusion, listening to, understanding of the other's concept of the ideas. And therefore, I think this is a social construction method, while the universities that studies are trying to encourage the active learning, and also not only the active has an element of the social element, that is to care for the others. Social elements are not only that just to go outside of the campus to the field work, that is really social, or that the internship is social, but for example, well, in this academic community, the social nature exists, and therefore, peer sense can be nurtured. And here, that there are many different paths to the understanding. Well, the contents may be the same. However, that well, looking at this classroom, that those people that who have heard about my explanation of active learning, that it may sound out to be the repetition. But some people know that the peer learning, but not active learning. Others that well, totally at the loss that you have not heard both of them: peer interaction, active interaction. Also, depending on your background information, you may or may not comprehend listening to the lecture like this. But the issue is that to bring everybody to a certain level. But in this process, that well, the clicker is a tool to really to position yourself as where you are in the community, so that the care for the others, consciousness of others, is the benefit of this socialization, schoolwork. We cannot take to the extreme, however, that we have to have an interface with the society in the classroom, in the schools, so that we can introduce some kind of the social element to the learning. I have used my time so briefly. Peer instruction, not the clickers, but it's more social than clickers. And so this is the interactive learning here, that the interactive between the instructors and the students, not on the clicker creates this interaction. Peer instruction is again that the horizontal and lateral and vertical interaction. Nichols and Boyles says that it's a cooperative learning. Cooperative education specialists say that they emphasize that the cooperation, and to try to incorporate it into that the clickers and the other technology. But I think that in a large sense that it is a collaboration, social, that this is the understanding path in order to get to a certain point. But the clicker gets you to there, or internally or externally also. And others, these others, or other others can help you into a certain level. This is a very social meshwork. Now that the peer instruction, there are many interactive books, and well, there is a physics book, Introduction of the Peer Instruction for the Physics Education. These are very good books that I encourage you to read. And also the active learning. These are the books on the active learning which are highly recommendable from me. Thank you.